G'day guys and welcome back to your English Aussie. Today I'm going to be rating your Game Week 34 teams. I'm going to be giving the best advice for all the best players for your individual circumstances and who I think should be in your teams. So let's get straight into the action. I've actually got two free hit teams from Luca. Luca, I don't want to completely change your team here as it seems like you've clearly got a preference, but I thought I could help you out with a few good and bad picks and also maybe give you some insight on the players that maybe you haven't thought about. So I've highlighted here, I think obviously Vicario in goal, excellent goalkeeper. You really can't deny he's consistent in everything he does. He takes good care of himself, and his only downside is maybe that he sticks to his routine too much. So much so that you know exactly where he's going to be at around Saturday at 3 p.m. He will be taking his weekly tour of the back of the net. Mickey van der Ven in the defence. Now Van der Ven is big, he's strong, he's an excellent defender for Spurs, and he's probably one of the fastest men in the team. Unfortunately, he's just not quite fast enough to catch all the mistakes he's been cleaning up. Pedro Porro, now this is someone that maybe I think you can look to replace in the side. However, he does thrive in attack. He's always pushing forwards, and maybe he can potentially get some attacking returns against this Liverpool side. Although his memory does seem to be an issue as he often forgets to come back. He is named after a type of wine and definitely defends like he's had a few of them. Jed Spence. Jed was signed in 2022 by Tottenham. I think Spurs got confused with this kid's name when they signed him, as he's often referred to as DJ. And obviously they thought this meant he was actually a DJ, as they've been loaning him out to play in as many clubs as possible. He is a great talent, though, a really nice defender, so I do like him in the side. He's not quite the footballing version of David Guetta yet, but he's well on his way to do so. So potentially could pick up some returns against Liverpool this week. In the midfield, I think I'll leave Tell and Kulusevski as obviously I don't want to move around too much of your side. Brennan Johnson, now he is someone that does have an incredible knack of being in the right place at the right time. Often manages to score goals in games which you don't expect him to. So potentially you do want to leave him in your side. However, do remember that Spurs bought him for 47.5 million. That is about 9.5 million per good cross. Now, Son Heung-min, this is a tough one for me as he is really one of my favourite players. He is the captain of the ship. Unfortunately, the ship's recently been the Titanic. Hopefully Spurs can turn it around in the Europa League, as it does look like the Premier League is sort of petering out for them a little bit. It is good that you do have Bentancur on the bench. As you mentioned to me, he might be able to cover for Son in case he is injured. The front line here, now they could struggle as you do have Richarlison and Scarlett. Richarlison and Scarlett, an injury, and also Scarlett being outside of the rotation at the moment. So you would have to rely on your bench. On the bench here, now you do have Romero and Udogie here. I would recommend potentially looking into maybe changing these two. Christian Romero, I have heard rumours he is into Pokemon card collecting. However, I'm not sure as he tackles like he's a high-level yellow card collector. Maybe he's only into the Pikachus. Destiny Udogie, I think I might have misspelled his last name here, actually. His Destiny is not Udogie, it's to give away a penalty at least once a month. I do think you could definitely look to replace these two with some other bench options who could maybe cover in for Richarlison and Scarlett. Otherwise, I think the team looks all right. Hopefully, I've given you some good insights into a few of the players there. And moving on to our next team. And that is Luca's second free hit team. I think you can say his real free hit team. Manager name Luca K. Team name Here Comes the Son. Team value of 105.1 million. One free transfer with 0.2 million in the bank. Used all his chips with free hit being the last of the bunch this week. And if you want to follow him on socials, FPL Luca _ on Twitter. He's very active on there, so feel free to give him a follow. A really engaged FPL player. and also a long-term subscriber to the channel. So thank you, Luca. Looking at your team here, mate, I can see in goal you've got Pope and Sarr on the bench. I think where my head would be going, I would be leaning more towards Sarr for the Leicester at home. I do think Ipswich do have some attacking talent in their side. They do play sort of on the fast on the counter, and they do have the ability to create some chances. Defensively, I would be much less sure of them. They do tend to concede a lot of chances, concede a lot of goals, specifically down the wings, where the wingers tend to cut it back into the box to strikers or attacking midfielders running onto the ball. So I do think Barnes, Murphy and Isak could be really good shouts for that game. Leicester, on the other hand, I think have been incredibly poor offensively this season, and I would much prefer a Jose Sarr and a Nouri double up in defence against Leicester. Obviously, you've got here Robinson and Sessegnon. Now, Sessegnon's a really nice option. He's playing in the midfield for Fulham, despite being a defender on the FPL site. So he has those potentials of getting those attacking returns, whilst also playing Southampton away, and has that potential for a clean sheet. I think Fulham generally have been a very good defence this year. And Southampton obviously haven't been fantastic from an attacking perspective. However, they have improved of late and have looked slightly better from an attacking perspective. Therefore, I think I would just like to go with one of the Fulham defenders here. And maybe I would go for Sessegnon and perhaps move Robinson. Given that you would be going for a double Wolves defence, maybe spread your risk a little bit by going for perhaps a Cucurella from your bench, or also perhaps a Kirkes of Bournemouth versus Man United. Now, this could be a really interesting one, given United are likely to continue to just rotate their team, play the kids essentially in their Premier League matches while preparing for their Europa League semi-final. I do think Kirkes has that attacking dynamism, as well as Bournemouth have a good chance of keeping a clean sheet against a heavily rotated Man United side. In the midfield, I see Iwobi, Palmer, Salah and Kluivert with Murphy on the bench. Now, I would have to say similar to, maybe not quite the same, but similar to what I often say about Semenyo at Bournemouth, I think Iwobi's finishing is generally quite poor. He did score an excellent goal last week, and I would say it's definitely not as bad as Semenyo's finishing, but he just doesn't breed that much confidence in me that he's going to score and pick up huge hauls in most games. However, having said that, against Southampton away is a good fixture. So if you do want to keep him in your side, I think that's okay. If you're interested in looking at potentially some other players, I would say Harvey Barnes could be a good shout for Newcastle, as along with Mitoma, who could be nice for Brighton up against West Ham. Cole Palmer against Everton at home. I think Everton have been fantastic defensively. They showed that again against Man City as well. I thought they defended really well against them for the majority of the game. Cole Palmer obviously in not very good form for Chelsea. I'd recommend swapping him out with Murphy on your bench. I think would be a much better pick. Salah and Kluivert look really nice. Into the offensive line, I do very much like Cunha, very much like Isak in there. Chris Wood, again, also a good pick. Just maybe another option to consider again is sort of Evanilson. But if you don't want to double up on the Bournemouth attack, that is completely fine. So overall, I think a good pick, Luke. Good team, Luca. Very interesting captaincy shout with Sessegnon. I know you are trying to claw back some rank at the moment, but I think that may be just a little bit of a stretch too far in this game week. I'd maybe look at somebody like a Cunha against Leicester, or perhaps even a Kluivert against Manchester United for the captaincy. Quick shout out, if you have been enjoying this video, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel down below, and we do also have memberships active. If you do want to support the channel, you can hit join or check the link out down below to become a member. It's only 75 cents or 40p a game week. And moving on to my next team, and that is Raphael Freitag, team name Pathetico Madrid, 104.9 million team value, 1 free transfer and 1.2 million in the bank. Also used all chips with the free hit this week. And his social is at raphe.fr on Instagram. So give him a follow there. His team has Bernd Leno in goal away against Southampton. Now, I do really like that. I think Leno does make some excellent saves at times. Southampton have been slightly better offensively, so there is a potential for save points, as well as still not being a fantastic attacking side. 8 Nori at the back, obviously, I've spoken about. I like Fabian Schär of Newcastle. I think obviously provides the attacking threat maybe off corners for a goal. And I would say he's probably one of the second tier defenders that I would consider for this free hit. I think my top 4 would be Sessegnon, 8 Nuri, Kirkez and Cucurella for their fixtures. However, I do like Fabian Schär for the goal threat that he could provide. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Tottenham at home. Obviously came back, scored the goal last week for Liverpool. Incredible celebration, left his shirt on the corner flag. Still think he's moving to Real Madrid, but it was nice to give himself sort of a little bit of a send-off there for Liverpool. I'm not convinced he will start the match for Liverpool. So for me, I think I'd probably avoid Trent. I think Conor Bradley could start again this game week while Trent's still getting back to full fitness. Expect him to probably come off the bench as well for a little cameo. So if you do start him, you probably won't get somebody off your bench either. Therefore, I think I'd probably move Trent. Have a think about Ryan Sessegnon from Fulham. I think playing as a winger, as a defender in FPL, attacking options, defensive options. Obviously, Southampton away, you've already looked at Leno, so you think that's a good fixture. Could be a nice one to go into. Outside of that, I think Cucurella on your bench could be a nice option against Everton, who definitely struggle offensively. Into the midfield, I do like Brian Mbeumo. I know it's a difficult game against Nottingham Forest, but he is a penalty taker. He does have the potential for large hauls. It could be a good differential in that free hit for 34. Cole Palmer, as I spoke about in Luca's team, I do think that's a tough fixture against Everton at home. Everton have conceded the 4th least goals in the Premier League this season after Liverpool, Arsenal and Nottingham Forest. So are an excellent defensive setup. I would look to probably move him maybe for Clivert on your bench. Of course, some other options are Murphy and Barnes for Newcastle. Murphy for Newcastle. You obviously already got Harvey Barnes in there. But potentially you don't want to go for a triple up of the Newcastle attack. Salah and Barnes I really like. I think Barnes has got that sort of nice positioning against an Ipswich team. He'll be able to go down the wing, cut the balls back to Isak, Tonali, Bruno to come onto. He also has that ability to come inside and shoot. So dual threats there for Harvey Barnes this week. Double up of Cunha and Strand Larsen up top against Leicester, with Isak up there as well. I think both Cunha and Strand Larsen are really nice picks for this game week. I'm not sure whether I would go with a double up of the two of them. I think Cunha has sort of the assist threat as well as the goal threat, whereas Strand Larsen obviously has the great form that he's been in. He's been on a really good run, goal-scoring run over the last sort of 5-6 games that Wolves have continued to win. So I think I'd probably go for one of the two of them. And then as my other striker option, I would definitely consider Danny Welbeck at Brighton. I think he's going to be on penalties with João Pedro being out. And also consider Evan Nilsson, who's probably got some of the highest sort of statistical stats for a striker over the last few game weeks for Bournemouth, up against a Man United side who might be heavily rotated. So I think I'd just sort of consider those options if you are looking to change any of those players. Shout out to Raphael, currently 100k in the world as well at the moment. So keep up the great work, mate, and let's hope for the green arrow in game week 34. On to our next team, that is Esh L. Team name Eloy 10 star. Team value 104.9 million. 1 free transfer and 0.2 million in the bank. He has used all his chips with the free hit being used in game week 34. And if you want to check him out on socials, that is at Osama____MH. And that is on Instagram. Sorry for missing the picture there, Esh. But check him out on Insta if you are interested. So starting with the goalie, and you do have Sanchez in goal for Chelsea. And now seeing him on paper for me, although Everton at home is a fantastic fixture, Sanchez does always seem to have a shocking error in him. But I do think Everton's a good fixture, and I don't want to be trying to change your teams too much. So if you are confident in Chelsea clean sheet there, then I think that is a good pick for the game week. Obviously, Nuri at the back, I think is a great pick. Sessegnon, again, also a great pick. Trippier, I think, is really interesting. Despite Ipswich, I do think having the ability to score and being a reasonable attack, I think Trippier would probably be my pick of the bunch for the Newcastle defenders. If you're looking at his heat map in the last sort of 4 or 5 games for Newcastle, he's been pushing up really high up the pitch along with Livramento, but Trippier is also on set pieces and also corners for Newcastle. Obviously, corners, they're a massive threat with Burn and Shah as well. So I think Trippier is an excellent pick there in the defence if you are backing that Newcastle defence at home to Ipswich. In the midfield, and I like a little bit of difference here, you can see a Salah Diaz double up against Tottenham. Tottenham obviously not on a fantastic run at the moment. We did have a nice slide earlier talking through a few of their players. But also will most likely rotate quite a lot of their team for Europa League semi-finals. So I think that Salah and Diaz double up could be a really nice duo. Obviously with Gakpo starting last week as well, that leads me to think that there is a potential for Diaz to continue starting in that Liverpool side. Kluivert and Barnes, I think, are great picks for this week. And up front, Cunha, Isak and Wood are all really nice. I think the Cunha captaincy is a really interesting shout. Leicester at home, obviously, very poor this season. I think Cunha has assist potential, goal potential. The only thing for me is you are captaining a forward, so you do get 1 less point for the goal, nothing for the clean sheet that they could get against Leicester. But outside of that, I think this team overall looks really nice. Esh, and I don't really have too many changes that I would look to make on it. If you wanted to look at somebody else outside of Wood, I would say some other options for you are Evanilson, Welbeck, potentially, as we saw in a previous team, Cunha, Strand, Larson double up. But for me, I think Wood is a nice differential in your team. Diaz a nice differential. Trippier and Sanchez also. So it does give you a little bit of difference over what I would say some of the more mainstream free hit sides are. But thank you very much for submitting your team. If you guys have been enjoying these videos, please remember to give us a like, subscribe to the channel down below. We do also have membership now available if you do want to support the channel further. Check that out. That should be coming across the top of the screen for all the details, and the link to join as a member will be below. That's all I've got for this video. Let me know if you want your team to be rated. Potentially I'll do another one for game week 34 or for game week 35. Post your team ID below and DM me a screenshot of your team. Thanks a lot, guys, and I hope you have a great game week. This has been your English Aussie. Catch you later.